Imagine walking into your favorite noodle shop, the same one you used to visit as a child. Years ago, you could buy a steaming bowl of noodles for just a handful of cash. Today, that same amount might barely cover a side dish, while the cost of the noodles themselves has soared. What happened? Why do prices seem to climb year after year, making the money in your wallet feel a little lighter each time you spend it? The answer lies in a powerful force that shapes economies and influences people's lives across the globe. This force is called inflation. Inflation, in its simplest terms, is the general increase in prices over time. It affects everything: food, clothing, housing, and even services like transportation or education. When inflation occurs, each unit of currency buys fewer goods and services. This means that the purchasing power of your money decreases. A cup of coffee that once cost $1 may eventually cost $2, not because the coffee has changed, but because the value of money has shifted. But why does inflation happen? What causes this relentless rise in prices? Economists typically point to three main reasons: cost-push inflation, demand-pull inflation, and the expansion of the money supply. First, let's explore cost-push inflation. Imagine that the price of fuel suddenly skyrockets. Every business that relies on transportation, whether shipping noodles, delivering groceries, or moving raw materials, faces higher expenses. These extra costs are usually passed on to consumers in the form of higher prices. Similarly, if the cost of labor rises, perhaps because workers demand higher wages or there's a shortage of skilled employees, businesses may increase their prices to maintain profits. This chain reaction, where increased input costs lead to higher-end prices, is known as cost-push inflation. Next, there is demand-pull inflation. This occurs when the demand for goods and services outpaces supply. Picture a holiday when everyone wants to buy flowers. Florists see their entire stock vanish within hours. With so many buyers and limited supply, prices shoot up. On a larger scale, if a growing population or a booming economy causes widespread demand for products, but companies can't produce enough to keep up, prices naturally rise. It's a classic case of too much money chasing too few goods. Finally, let's talk about the expansion of the money supply. Governments and central banks sometimes inject extra money into the economy, perhaps by printing more currency, lowering interest rates, or reducing taxes. The idea is to encourage spending and investment. However, if more money is available while the amount of goods and services stays the same, people have more to spend, but there isn't more to buy. The result? Prices go up. This scenario played out dramatically in Zimbabwe in 2008, when the government printed so much money that prices doubled every single day, turning citizens into billionaires on paper, but making even basic necessities impossibly expensive. So, is inflation always a bad thing? The answer is both yes and no. A moderate, predictable rate of inflation, typically around 2% to 3% per year, is actually seen as healthy for most economies. It encourages people to spend or invest their money rather than hoarding it, which helps businesses grow and keeps the economy dynamic. It can also make it easier for borrowers to repay loans, since the real value of their debt shrinks over time. However, when inflation rises too quickly or unexpectedly, it can be deeply unsettling. People on fixed incomes, like retirees or those who save money in cash, find that their savings lose value. What once could have bought a house might now only buy a meal. Workers may see their wages lag behind prices, making it harder to afford everyday expenses. Businesses struggle to plan for the future, investments become riskier, and economic uncertainty grows. In extreme cases, like in Zimbabwe, or historical examples such as Germany in the 1920s, hyperinflation can devastate economies. Money becomes almost worthless, savings are wiped out, and people are forced to barter goods instead of using cash. In such scenarios, society itself can come under strain. Given these dangers, how can individuals protect themselves from inflation's erosive effects? One strategy is to avoid keeping too much wealth in cash. Instead, consider investing in assets that have the potential to outpace inflation over time. Stocks, bonds, real estate, and businesses can all grow in value, offering a buffer against rising prices. By owning a piece of a company, a property, or an income-generating asset, you're more likely to see your wealth keep pace with or exceed inflation. It's also important to think long-term. Saving and investing early gives your money more time to grow. Even small, consistent investments can add up over years and decades, helping you stay ahead of inflation's steady march. Governments and central banks have roles to play as well. By carefully managing the money supply, setting interest rates, and using fiscal policies, they aim to keep inflation in check, high enough to encourage growth, but low enough to preserve stability. It's a delicate balancing act that requires constant vigilance and adjustment. In the end, inflation is neither a friend nor a foe. It's simply a fact of economic life. Understanding how it works, why it happens, and how it can be managed is essential for making smart financial decisions. Whether you're saving for the future, investing in your education, or planning for retirement, being aware of inflation helps you protect your hard-earned money. So the next time you notice prices creeping upward, remember that inflation is at work. By staying informed, saving wisely, and investing in your future, you can not only withstand inflation, but use it to your advantage. The key is not to fear inflation, but to be prepared, so that your financial well-being grows, no matter how the world around you changes.